fall camp, you always have those questions, right? Everybody has questions, just like everybody has expectations. Everybody has thoughts about how is Alabama going to look like offensively? How is it going to look like defensively? When it comes down to specific position breakdowns, how the quarterback's going to look, how will the running backs look, offensive line, defensive line, wide receivers, DBs. Everybody has thoughts and questions about the various position units. How will these things be when you discuss and look at fall camp? So I'm going to get into right now the 5 biggest questions as we're in the week of fall camp when you look at preseason practice here for Alabama. So first and foremost here, who takes the number 2, who takes the primary backup role at quarterback behind Bryce Young? And for all of you out there, Bryce Young, starting quarterback, everybody feels like he is going to do his thing. People look at Bill O'Brien as the offensive coordinator. They feel like the marriage between O'Brien and Young is going to be just fine. But the bigger question is, behind Bryce, who is going to be that guy? Who is going to be the primary backup? Who is going to be somebody that Alabama's going to need to depend on for that in the situation being if something were to happen on the field? Hopefully nothing happens to Bryce Young and he can go through the whole season healthy, cool, calm, collected, leading this team to a national championship as he looks to do. But as we all know, this is football and you have to have everybody ready. You got to have all hands on deck. Everybody got to be on board and prepared to go. So for Alabama, it's got 2 guys here that are more than capable when you talk Paul Tyson and Jalen Milroe. Paul Tyson, who is entering his 3rd season in the program, came as a 4-star out of Trussville, Alabama. He went Trussville High School in the 2019 class. He's got exceptional size at 6'5", a little bit over 230 pounds, has a very strong arm, accurate arm, high football IQ, can put the ball exactly where you need it at. And a lot of people, or some people, I won't say a lot, some people kind of undervalue the importance of having the experience within the system. And one thing that Coach Saban likes is for his guys to be knowledgeable of that system. And you have a guy like Paul Tyson, despite the fact that Alabama switches offensive coordinators every other year, the offense doesn't really differ despite the amount of coordinators being brought in. You have a guy in Tyson that understands the entire system, knows it backwards, forward, sideways, diagonally. That is very pivotal. That plays a huge role there. But behind Paul, you've got a guy in Jalen Milroe, the true freshman from Tompkins High School in Katy, Texas, the 4-star, who has just tremendous freakish strength. He has had an incredible offseason program this summer. We have seen the videos of him squatting 600-plus pounds, lifting weights, moving those plates, maneuvering that weight like it's nobody's business. He's had a very good summer. He's had a strong offseason program. He's impressed teammates. He's impressed coaches. Coach Saban has spoken on his leadership and what he brings to the table and his capability of not just being an exceptional runner, but he's got an arm cannon. He can get that ball downfield. So you have 2 guys that bring different skill sets, 2 guys that bring different talents to the table. But the main question here in fall camp, which one of these 2 will be the primary backup for Bryce Young? Paul Tyson can straight up do it. Jalen Milroe can straight up do it. This fall camp started off here on Friday. It's going to be very interesting to see not only which one pops, but which one can sustain it, keep it, hold it, and be that number 2 guy helping out with the true sophomore and Young. Moving on here to the second thought here, second biggest question when you look at fall camp, it's the offensive line. And in terms of, how will this group look? How will this line look? What would be the finished product in terms of the main 5 starting along this front here? You go back to last season, the 2020 offensive line was very special. Dickerson, Leatherwood, Deontay Brown, Emil Ekiyor, Evan Neal. That was a special group. We saw what that group did in terms of winning the Joe Moore Award, keeping Mac Jones protected, helping Devontae Smith win the Heisman Trophy, the things it did with Najee Harris as well in the run and pass game. But this year's group, you've got some starters back on this line. When you look at Chris Owens, there's your center, he's back. Evan Neal, your freakish left tackle, he's back. Emil Ekiyor Jr., your right guard, he's back. And he really started to emerge more and more down the stretch of a season ago. But the question becomes, how will this whole line look when it's all the way put together under Doug Marrone as the first-year offensive line coach? We heard head coach Nick Saban speak at SEC Football Media Days that Javion Cohen, the sophomore, is or will likely be the starter at left guard this upcoming season. He has progressed well. He has performed quite nicely. Now, of course, he is still in competition with Tommy Brown, the young man from California, for that spot there at left guard. But Saban mentioned Javion Cohen, likely the guy to be starting at left guard, which that brings us to right tackle, in which we have multiple guys kind of battling for the spot. Kendall Randolph, who's a veteran entering his 5th or 6th year at that position. Saban likes that experience. And then you got J.C. Latham, big, freakish, 5-star true freshman from Florida. He's in the battle right there. And then you got Damian George, a 4-star from the Texas area, who came in the 2020 class. So you got 3 guys in that battle. Me personally, I would like to see J.C. Latham take the job, but if Kendall Randolph takes the job, it wouldn't really bother me just due to the experience that he has. But second major question, how will this offensive line look, the finished product, when you talk about starting this thing off in fall camp? But the third thought here in question for U.S. fans entering this endeavor here for the Crimson Tide goes to the wide receiver room. And it's, do we see a true freshman get big action in this wide receiver room this year? And you look at the guys when you talk about Asia Hall, who had the awesome A-Day game. 4 catches for 72 yards, the 6'3", 195-pounder from Florida, the 5-star who gave people images of Julio Jones inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. Then behind him, you've got Christian Leary, who is a speed demon. Kind of reminds me of Henry Ruggs III, if you will. Track star, but can make big plays on the football field. And then there's JoJo Earl, who came in late in the early signing period. Alabama flipped him from LSU, and folks were like, holy crap, who is this guy? You gotta watch film on this kid. And when you watch JoJo Earl's film, it's insane. It's awesome. It's tremendous. He's kind of a Jalen Waddle 2.0, if you will. And then there's Ja'Cory Brooks, the guy that not too many people are talking about, another guy from Florida at 6'1", 6'2". He brings a lot of big-time route-running traits to the table. But we've seen this in years past under Nick Saban, where a true freshman has come in here at that position, and you can't deny him. You have to play him. He's got to be on the field. 2012, we saw it with Amari Cooper. 2015, we saw it with Calvin Ridley. 2017, we had the trio of Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Devontae Smith all come together, and we were like, we can't keep any of those 3 off the field. And then 2018, we saw it also with Jalen Waddle. So could we see from this edition here of true freshmen, between Asia Hall, Christian Leary, JoJo Earl, Ja'Cory Brooks, do we see at least one of these guys get on the field, make an impact, pop out in fall camp, and have Nick Saban going, I cannot not play this guy. This guy has to be on the field. This guy has to be in the rotation. Because when we got this guy, he can make a huge, huge impact. But that's major thought number 3 there in terms of true freshman at wide receiver. Can one of these guys get on the field creating this big action? Moving on down to the 4th thought and looking at fall camp is the defensive line. And it's, can this group be ferocious? Can it return to being a fearsome group, getting that penetration up front? We've had people call the show, fans call the show, talking about, does Bama have those defensive linemen like it did in years past? Does it have the Deron Paynes, the Jonathan Allens, the Ashawn Robinsons, the Quinnen Williams, the Jerron Reeds in years past? And I feel like this year's group, it's got that. When you talk about the Fedarian Mathis, the LeBron Rays, provided he stays healthy, the DJ Dales, the TM Jim Smiths, the Jamil Burrows, the Jamarian Lathams. Bama's got about 10 to 12 guys rotating along that defensive front. But the main thing here is having this front be fearsome, having this front be able to stop the run, as well as get after the quarterback. That's the fourth thought there, because a lot of high expectations for this defense, especially with the line. And then fifth and last but not least, the thought process has been at the punter position. Who wins the starting punting job between Jack Martin and Ty Perine? Bama has not had a consistent leg at that spot since J.K. Scott from 2014 to 2017. In terms of flipping the field, which one of these two will take the job, will win the job, and will get Alabama back to having the consistent leg from a specialist viewpoint? But those are just the 5 thoughts, the 5 biggest questions there for U.S. fans, or that U.S. fans may be thinking about as we get into fall camp, preseason practice starting up here on Friday.